Hello, welcome to What the Flick. We are live flesh and blood people here talking about boxing robots. We're going to try to put some intelligence into it. Does the film deserve it? I don't know. I'm Christy. That's Matt. That's Alonzo. We're talking about Real Steel. This is essentially 2 hours and 7 minutes of Rock'em Sock'em Robots, is it not?
In a nutshell, yes.
Please tell us about it.
Okay, so Hugh Jackman is a washed-up boxer in the future of 2020, where humans are no longer boxing. It's all these big robots because people want robot violence, apparently. That's the hot thing. And he's kind of a grifter running around with this like crappy robot scrap and, you know, running out on bets and stuff. And he winds up having to take care of this son that he barely knew that he had, that he ran out on years earlier. And together the two of them find this old robot that looks like the Iron Giant, and they turn him into a champion. And yeah, whatever.
Times have changed. Fighting has changed. But the crowd, they never change. Brilliant!
Yeah, so the problem here, at least for me, is one of the main fundamental things that's wrong with the Transformers movies.
Not enough robots fighting.
I need more robots fighting and grunting and bleeping their emotions. But no, it's like they're all interchangeable hunks of metal beating the crap out of each other with no soul. And then the colors change and the names change, but do you care who beats who? I don't.
Well, the thing is, I didn't care about the human people either, which is the, you know, that's one thing that, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, the robots, very realistic, I will say. Like, I totally bought the effects. Like, they looked like three-dimensional objects pounding each other.
They are very cool.
And unlike the Transformers movies, it is very clear when one robot fist connects with another robot jaw. It's not like this crazy mix of pixels up there.
It is seamless. It's a mix of like animatronic and CGI. And yeah, the robots are sort of seamlessly blended into the real world.
But boy, did I hate every character in this movie. From the smarmy Hugh Jackman to...
Oh, his character is vile.
Oh, just awful. And the kid who played his son, so like, the textbook like cute kid performance. It's all...
He's a moppet.
Yeah, it's just so phony and twinkly and just, ugh, you know, product placement. It's too long. It is
2 hours and 7 minutes long. I'm not even exaggerating.
It's unengaging and phony, and I didn't. I got no pleasure from this movie, and frankly. You know, you tell me it's going to be a movie about fighting robots, put me down for that. Like, that sounds like it could be a fun movie, but not this one.
Yeah, this is not fun. Did you have fun?
I didn't have much fun. I will say, though, I actually kind of enjoyed the robot fight scenes. To me, that actually makes the movie watchable. Okay. I think most of the movie,
they're the highlight, for sure.
I think the most of the movie is crap. I didn't buy like any of the characters acting that way. You know, early on in the movie, when Hugh Jackman basically sells the parental rights to his child, to his
Hope Davis,
his ex-girlfriend's
deserves
sister.
Better movies than
like,
this.
I thought, this guy's fucking vile. Like, that's awful, right? That lost me for his character.
But it's also a device, because, you know, he has to have this change of heart and this
so he can learn.
But I couldn't, like, that's such, that anyone would do that, you know, and maybe if this is me speaking as somebody who now has a kid, like, I just couldn't get past that with his character. But the robot fighting actually kind of worked for me. I thought those fight scenes with the robots were exciting, and
they're well choreographed and they're very believable. Like I forgot that like I'm probably seeing something that's completely fake.
Right.
But that's not enough to make sitting through the rest of this movie remotely worth it.
I agree with you, and the only reason I think I'm being a little bit more forgiving is that, in spite of what I said about the father in this movie, kids are going to love this movie.
But it's only for kids. Like Sean Levy, who directed it, did the Night Museum movies. He does these, you know, family-friendly,
Cheaper by the Dozen. He's the worst.
Idiotic, fluffy movies. But this is not even for adults at all. This is only for kids, and kids deserve something more intelligent than
Well,
this.
they do, but I will say that this is a kids movie that I would have less of a problem taking a kid to than the last Transformers movie. Right. And I'm actually I kind of understand why this movie is PG-13, because there is a scene where Hugh Jackman gets beat up and the kid gets kind of slapped around too. And I understand that that's probably why the ratings board gave it, but I feel like it's a travesty on behalf of the ratings board that this movie and Transformers 3 are both PG-13, because Transformers 3 is absolutely not a kids movie. That's
It's
not
so
for
violent.
kids. It's
There's
so
so much
violent,
peril.
so inappropriate.
Yeah.
This movie, you could probably get away with making it PG, right? And kids are going to love this movie. I think they're going to have a great time at this movie. And
I think
there
if
are
you
worse movies to sit through when you have to take the kids.
I think if they had given the robots personalities and just made them the whole movie and not dealt with the stupid, boring human characters, I might have been more on board.
I
frankly.
was a little disappointed with that. You know, like at one point early on, you know, he gets his replacement robot and he's like, oh, Noisy Boy's available. And he gets this beautiful, gleaming purple robot with all of these kanji characters all over it, which was great. And then it's like, well, why do they call him Noisy Boy? He doesn't really make any more noise than the rest of the damn robots. Like, come on.
Yeah, and then you talk about how vile the Hugh Jackman character is. Once he does have his learning and loving moment, he gets super big and hammy, and it's like all those years on Broadway, like he's playing it big to the
back balcony.
He totally is. And I like him usually.
I generally do too, but he is so self-satisfied in this movie. It's nauseating. And then the Danny Elfman score,
which you'd never know is a Danny Elfman.
Yeah, it's like I love Danny Elfman, and this one is so by the numbers. Like here, cry now, you know, like be excited now. It's so telling you what to think all the time, and cliched and obvious and overdone. It's horrible, and the music is just inescapable throughout the movie.
Formulaic, cheesy, hokey.
Now, one of the things, this movie isn't actually an adaptation of Rock'em Sock'em Robots. It's actually an extremely loose adaptation of a story called Steel, written by Richard Matheson, who wrote I Am Legend.
The original story must have been much smarter than this.
So the original story is based on a Twilight Zone, either Twilight Zone or Outer Limits. I'm pretty sure it's Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
That's this great story about robot boxing and a guy who basically puts on the skin of this robot. They run out of parts, and so they puts on the skin of this robot boxer and steps into the ring to basically make enough money to rebuild the robot. And it's extremely dangerous, and it's this great story about whether or not a guy can, you know, it's almost kind of this old-fashioned story of the guy who fought the steam engine, John Henry.
John Henry.
It's like this modern John Henry story. It's this really great story. And what they took out of that story and put in this movie, like, so stupidly misses the point. I was so bummed out. I'm like, wait a minute, are they gonna? Oh, that's how they're doing it?
It's nothing that we care about, and it's like, and yeah, it's supposed to be these big character revelations, but since we don't like the characters or believe that they even exist on any human plane, it's hard to get excited about.
And the main woman in it, Evangeline Lilly, is of course beautiful, but that is all she is called upon to do.
She is the girl.
Is look sexy in wife beater tank tops and little bitty shorts, and
cry.
she looks great.
Everybody has to cry at the end,
and then you have Hope Davis, who's an excellent actress,
who deserves way better.
Is just like the uptight, snobby, would-be parent figure.
Seriously, the last 5 minutes, as though the Elfman score weren't already prodding us enough. Like, everybody on screen has to start crying so that we know that it's a big, moving, sweeping finale.
Let's do numbers.
Oof.
Alonzo Duralde.
3.
Matt Atchity.
I didn't hate it that much. I gave it a 5.
I'm also giving it a 3, and that means 3.7 is our average. It's pretty low down there in tomato land, is it not?
Is it? It's been steadily dropping.
Okay.
It was actually fresh last time I looked, but it's probably dropped into rotten.
Okay. So it might not get as low as our numbers. Right. I think we're probably being pretty harsh on this.
But, you know, like Gray loved it.
Yeah.
Gray thought it was, you know, I was sitting next to, Gray Drake.
We still like Gray.
Words about that.
We like Gray. We'll invite her back anyway. All right. Thanks a lot for watching. 3.7 for Real Steel. Take care. Have a great weekend.
Bye.
Thanks.